Welcome everyone back to my channel. I have a flight in about an hour, so we're gonna have to make this work. Today I am particularly speaking about AP exams. Once again, I posted a video last week about how to do well in your AP classes and your exams in general, but today I'm gonna get a little bit more specific and talk about AP psychology, which was literally the best class I've ever taken in high school. I'm going to be giving you advice on how to do well throughout the year, as well as on the final exam. If you haven't yet watched my video about how to do well on all of your AP classes, I'll have it up here and down below too. The reason why I'm doing this video in particular is because every AP class is a little bit different. So I'm going to tell you the things that worked for me in AP psychology and what led me to get a 5 in the first place. Stick around to the end to hear about the #1 trick that helped me review a year's worth of material in just 1 week and remember every single thing. There are levels of importance when studying for your AP exams and when prepping to do your absolute best in the class. So my #1 piece of advice is paying attention in class is crucial. This is for any class. Lectures are very important to pay attention to because the way a teacher explains it the first time might be simpler than what you might read on a textbook or see on YouTube later on. And that's like top tier. You should be paying attention in class. You should be listening. You should be asking questions. Asking questions keeps you engaged in the class so much more than just sitting and listening. I think one tier below that is reviewing the material after every day. I think that reviewing every day is actually going to remove a lot of the stress that you're going to be feeling when you prep for your AP exam and for just general tests in the class. So how do you do that? It's something I personally call brain dumping. There's a lot of different ways to say it, but you go home, you review your notes for a little bit, or if you feel like the content is fresh in your head, you can go ahead and start writing down on a blank sheet of paper everything you remember about that lecture or about those set of notes that you just went over. And this is without looking at any notes while you're doing it or looking at anything that relates to the topic at all. It's literally you, a sheet of paper, a pencil, or a pen, and you just do it for however long you like or until you can't remember anything else. It's good to compare that sheet you just wrote down and your notes after so that you see what you're missing and you see what you're more likely to forget. More techniques related to that allow you to stay engaged with the topic and engaged with what you're learning is flashcards and mnemonics. And I say this especially also because we learned about this in class. College Board includes in their AP Psych curriculum that mnemonics and brain maps are one of the best ways to learn. You should know this if you're reviewing, or if you don't know it yet, it's the start of the year, you will learn about mnemonics and it's the coolest thing ever in the learning unit. So you can actually use some of the techniques you learned in class to help you study, and it's really cool to figure out, and personally I had a lot of fun with that. What I did kind of relating to flashcards was I made a Quizlet set for every unit during the year, and that was particularly for vocabulary. At the end of the year, I combined all of those Quizlets into one major Quizlet with all the vocab words I learned over the year. And AP Psych is heavy on vocabulary, so I highly suggest this to anyone taking the exam. This entire tier, pay attention in class, active recall, practicing, you should be using throughout your entire year for best results. So now we're getting closer to the AP exam. It's 3 months away, 2 months away, and you should be focusing on what is going to be falling on the exam. We've learned all the vocabulary, but now we're going to concern ourselves with the FRQs. Every AP exam has an FRQ, and it's worth a lot for most of them. So what I did in my class was we would do an entire practice FRQ and review what we got wrong after. Obviously, not every class does this, so I suggest you do it at home if you don't do it in class. Get an official released FRQ, do it within the time frame they give you, and after, review exactly the questions you got right and wrong using the rubric that they have for that FRQ. I think that having a timer specifically is also crucial because in the AP exam, they do time you. As someone who has taken 7 APs, it's very, very stressful to keep up with the time. So starting to practice early is going to give you an advantage. And by the time you're there, it's not going to feel as stressful. I would suggest getting a textbook, but only if you feel the need. If you're confident in everything you know and you don't really need a refresher other than the notes that your teacher might give you or that you've gathered throughout the year, then a textbook might not be necessary, but I used a textbook just to make sure I knew everything. I was aiming for 5, so I was studying like I wanted to get every single question right. And to get a 5, you don't actually need to get every question right. The College Board actually has part of their website dedicated to showing what percentage of the test you have to get right in order to get a 5, a 4, or 3. So getting a few questions wrong is acceptable, but a good trick is to actually aim for higher than you want to score. That way you have a better chance of getting the score you'd like. So this is the textbook I used, the Barron's 2022-23 Premium textbook. As you can see, I did a lot with it, and I'm going to explain exactly what I did and why I did so well on my AP exam. I sat down for my exam and I was so confident that it was actually enjoyable for me, just because I didn't feel any doubt or any fear that I was going to get something wrong or that I wasn't going to get the score I wanted. I didn't only read my textbook. As you can see, I kind of refreshed while actively writing things and actively drawing because that helps me the most. I actually coupled reading the textbook and writing things down with a technique I learned on YouTube from a professor. It's literally been the best way I have ever read textbooks from when I started using this technique to now. The technique consists of opening your textbook to a chapter, flipping through all of the pages in that chapter, and kind of paying attention to headings and bold words. That way you have an idea of what's coming. Flip through it again, now looking at vocabulary words and like the paragraphs within each section. I kind of put a twist on that, and what I did was I was typing up my notes and I would flip through the pages and I would write down the headings and each vocab word under that heading without definition for every single heading in that chapter. I would then read the chapter and not look at anything I had just typed. And then after I was done with the chapter, I would close the book, go back to my notes, and type the definitions for the vocab words without looking at my textbook. This helped me so much with memory and so much with refreshing those words and even learning new words that I actually didn't learn in class. There were a couple words on this book that were on the exam that I had never heard of in my class. And that was part of the reason why I also bought it. I was pretty confident in the knowledge I had gained over the year, but I wanted to make sure that I got a 5, so I went above and beyond to get this book and know everything. For each unit, I put like a sticky note on the side where it's sticking out of the book. On the sticky note under each unit number, I would write down the vocab words relating to that unit so that when I wanted to review my textbook in general, I didn't have to flip through the entire book to try to find what I was looking for. I kind of had like hints as to what each unit was kind of talking about. So AP Psych having a little bit of anatomy, you're going to have to know what the brain's different parts are. And for that, I actually recommend having a blank picture of the brain and kind of drawing arrows to the different parts and like writing down the names on the side. That is the best way I personally know how to do anatomy and study for anatomy, and it's a really good way. I highly suggest. But the month before, it's very good to start doing practice exams, because practice exams kind of help you know what you're at, and they help you correct the mistakes that you're making so that you don't make them on the actual AP exam. The most important thing when doing mock exams is to look at the mistakes more than just doing it, because you could do a whole practice exam, but if you don't actually look at what you're missing at the end, then it's kind of a waste of time. The Barron's textbook actually does have practice exams. It has a diagnostic at the beginning, which I would recommend doing, and it has practice exams at the end, and I think online too. You're getting even closer to the AP exam. It's about 2 weeks away. I actually wouldn't recommend doing much, maybe glancing at your notes a couple times, but other than that, it's really just about relaxing, getting good sleep, getting good food before the exam. So those are my quick tips for a 5 on the AP Psychology exam. If you guys would like to hear about any other AP exams, please comment down below. Thank you once again to all of my subscribers, and thank you all for watching this video. I hope to see you guys in the next video, and just remember, confidence is key most of the time, so just believe in yourself. And thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.